in recent months, there have been a lot of contentious actions taken by the government to stop funding of certain NGOs, and the issue has come to the fore, though mistrust of foreign funded NGOs and the NGO activism in general has been growing for some years now. I don't think it's something new, it's been brewing. It's just that it seems to have come to a head in recent months. And even though we want to talk about a rational government policy for NGOs in general, including those that are involved in religious work, in development work, advocacy campaigns, service-oriented work. But since foreign-funded NGOs are currently at the receiving end of government ire, much of our deliberations are bound to focus on NGOs supported by international donor agencies. Normally, political groups invite only like-minded people for their meetings, but we have tried our best to include diverse voices, including those we differ with. Apart from those who are present at today's dialogue, and some more will join soon, we had invited the Ford Foundation, the HEVOS, Greenpeace, Anhad, Center for Social Justice, Dalit Freedom Network, Center for Social Equity, Sangat, and several others to this dialogue. However, for reasons best known to them, they chose not to accept our invitation. And I think my hunch is that NGOs have gotten so used to, NGOs of a certain political orientation have gotten so used to talking only to each other that they don't feel comfortable in an environment where inconvenient questions may also be raised. So, but the purpose of this meeting is not to attack anybody for its own sake, but to raise important questions about NGO functioning as well as government policy. On the other side, a lot of my friends and social media followers who are opposed to foreign-funded NGOs expressed annoyance at the inclusion of certain individuals, and I got a lot of angry messages. Why have you invited so-and-so? Why are you even trying to give them space? But it is my deep conviction that those who don't have the confidence to engage with those they differ with may as well talk to the mirror. तो शीशे से ही बात कर लो ना, अपनी बात ही अच्छी लगती है तो किसी और से बात करने की जरूरत ही क्या है. I appeal to all present that even though we may be raising contentious issues today, that we should all try to maintain calm and remain courteous, no matter how serious our differences. Let's be frank and if need be even blunt, but not be rude or uncivil. Let me admit at the very outset that right from the inception of Manushi, and now I'm speaking as founder Manushi, not as Professor CSDS, way back in 1978, we chose not to be tied to the apron strings of international donor agencies or even our own government for that matter. Even before we knew where we would get the resources to run Manushi, I had the very first issue of Manushi Journal declare that as a policy, we would neither accept funds from Western donor agencies nor from the government. It was a very tough, many would say a very foolhardy decision, since we had started Manushi with a mere rupees 800 from our own contributions. And in those days, as a lecturer, we earned pitiful salaries, so even 800 seemed quite a princely sum. I don't think my salary was more than 600 rupees at that time. We had no office space, no typewriter, computers had not even arrived in India at that time, nor any other wherewithal to run the office. And we worked from roadside dhabas, from parks, and from our own homes. Yet we began providing legal aid and many other forms of support to vulnerable groups and women in need, all through voluntary, unpaid work, which has been the backbone of Manushi from its very inception. Within a week or 10 days of the release of Journal Manushi, which also took a rather unusual decision not to accept commercial advertisements and live only on the basis of subscribers and support from our readers, I was faced with the first big temptation, or call it test, when Dr. Kamla Chaudhary, the then head of Ford Foundation in India, invited me over for dinner and offered to bankroll Manushi. This was at a time when we didn't even have rupees 2,000 in our bank account, since we had exhausted the 12,000 rupees we had collected initially by way of advance subscriptions in bringing out the first issue itself. And yet, I politely refused her offer of a very generous grant. She then very graciously made another offer that the Ford Foundation would pay for 10,000 copies of every issue for the next 5 years in advance. The offer would be renewed every 5 years if the journal survived. Kamlaji said that Ford would leave us free to decide who to send those copies to. So you can well imagine how generous such an offer would be. For a minute, I was bowled over by her generosity. But I figured out that this would be as good as accepting being financed by the Ford. And since we had already announced we wouldn't be accepting donor agency money, I said no even to this second offer. Not because I had any suspicions about its intentions. At that time, I knew very little about Ford Foundation. My refusal was basically to do with the sense of self-esteem as an Indian. Since Manushi was set up as an instrument of social and political reform in India, I felt that this task should be done by people within India and with resources generated from Indians. To go with a begging bowl before international donors to fix the ills of our own society seemed to militate against my sense of pride as an Indian. I personally believe we will never gain real strength if we do not develop the skills to appeal to the conscience of our own society and make our own people support activities we undertake on their behalf. Our activism is bound to remain rootless if we fail to persuade those on whose behalf we are acting to provide financial and moral support for our work. This will also keep us accountable to the very same people on whose behalf we act. But friends, I'd like to clarify that it's not blind mistrust or hostility towards foreigners that motivated me to keep Manushi free from the apron strings of Western donor agencies. While we said no to Western aid money, we welcomed volunteers from all over the world. Since its very start, Manushi has been fortunate enough to have a stream of dedicated and highly qualified volunteers from all over the world, including North America, Europe, Australia, and other parts of the world. They came at their own cost and worked for us without expecting even a modest honorarium. Their labor of love has played a vital role in helping Manushi stay alive with modest resources. And the point is to say this is not nationalist jingoism, which makes me say no to international aid money. And this is also not to suggest that I expect everybody to follow this path and choose the rather tough and uphill path I chose for Manushi. As opposed as I am to foreign-funded polity, I feel appalled at the ham-handed manner in which both the UPA and the current NDA government have been acting against select NGOs. The FCRA, we know, has for long been used as a vicious instrument for arm twisting of NGOs. In fact, I remember even when we didn't have an FCRA, many years ago, because I signed a statement or was supposed to have signed a statement with some other foreign-funded NGOs, we were served an FCRA notice for no reason. And needless harassment followed as a result. Now, even when we did decide to apply for FCRA, we did so only because a group of NRIs had given us a modest contribution, a check of $5,000. It came to us, we didn't have FCRA, so I decided it's time to do so. And I didn't have any problem, I honestly don't have any problem accepting modest contributions from NRIs. I consider them our own, and I believe they owe it to us to assist good work in India of all kinds. Now, when I applied for FCRA, the reason I'm saying is that this bureaucracy doesn't really know the difference between real culprits and honest people. Two inspectors from FCRA came to my office And I explained to them that the reason for it was that we had this check of $5,000. We had never before accepted any money nor even applied for it. This had just come voluntarily. And you won't believe it. They tried to give me hints that they wanted a certain bribe amount. They didn't exactly mention the amount simply because the check we had was so small. If it had been $50,000, I'm sure the demand would have been higher. But within no time, I get a notice saying, why have you deposited $50,000 in your bank account without approval? Well, even the $5,000 check hadn't been deposited. So I wrote a very angry letter to the FCRA office saying, this is harassment. Your two employees, I named them, were actually angling for a bribe because I refused. This is why I'm getting this notice. We can do without FCRA, but please convey to your officers that they're not getting any money from us. Luckily for me, at that time we had a very good IS officer in charge of the FCRA, so I got clearance in no time. And since then, Manushi has had very small, modest amounts, $10 sometimes, $50, $100, $200 occasionally coming from NRIs. That's about the sum total of our involvement with FCRA. And yet, once again, we in January 2014 got an FCRA notice why we were that we would be subject to a 7-year inquiry. Once again, I refused point blank, saying all our accounts are available on the net, on our website. I refuse to submit myself to this harassment because we have submitted accounts very regularly. The amounts involved are modest. Each penny, each rupee is listed on our website, so they can check it from there. All our accounts are there. I refuse to go through this humiliation. And I organized a press conference to challenge the government openly. Well, verbally, that notice was withdrawn, though not officially. Now, the point that I'm trying to make is that if an organization like Manushi can be harassed in this manner, I can well imagine those that are getting hefty grants, what they go through. I'm told they have to routinely pay cuts, that the money is not sanctioned, that they're given a lot of trouble by the FCR agency. It is an instrument of harassment and extortion. Now, much as I oppose foreign-funded politics, I think this won't do. The manner in which the government has acted towards Greenpeace, nabbing them, their representative at the airport, I think it's time that we demanded of the government a clear statement of what their ire and grouse is, some method of investigation that's honest, fair, transparent, and action taken accordingly rather than, and also clarifying the rules of the game, which to my mind are very fuzzy at the moment. So the day's deliberations will be, A, in dealing with the challenges that NGOs, especially foreign-funded NGOs, pose to Indian polity and society. Are they friends or foes? Are they doing good work and are able to do the work they are doing only because they are not obligated to anybody within Indian society? Does that give them independence, or does that make them hostages to alien agendas? These are some of the questions people will be raising. We have people here who will present the viewpoint of their respective NGOs, including those that have taken foreign funding and are doing good work. You would have noticed we haven't gotten people who we can take easy pot shots at. We have people who are responsible, who don't have any charges, who are not under any shadow or cloud, so that it's a serious dialogue. We wish to engage with this issue in a serious manner, and I hope the day's deliberations will remain pleasant, calm, and courteous, no matter how serious and how strong our differences. Thank you.